The message arrived at 3:00 in the morning Earth Standard Time. Ambassador Elena Vasquez was sleeping in her small quarters aboard the diplomatic station. Called Threshold, the station floated at the edge of human space, a tiny metal island surrounded by the endless dark of the cosmos. Her communication device screamed with an alarm she had never heard before. Elena sat up in her bed, her heart beating fast. The screen on her wall glowed with a deep red color. She knew that color. Every diplomat in the galaxy knew that color. Red meant the Galactic Council had called in emergency meeting. Red meant something terrible was about to happen. Elena read the message 3 times. Her hands began to shake. The High Tribunal of the Galactic Council had summoned humanity to answer for crimes against the conquered. Of 12, the trial would begin in 72 hours. On Axiom Prime, the sacred world where the elder species made their most important decisions, she got dressed quickly and walked through the empty hallways of the station. Her footsteps echoed against the metal floors. Through the window, she could see distant stars burning in the blackness. Somewhere out there, billions of humans lived on 17 colony worlds. They had no idea that their entire future hung by a thread. Elena reached the communication center and made 2 calls. The first was to General Marcus Chen, a tall man with gray hair and calm eyes. He had fought in 3 border conflicts and had never lost a battle. The second call was to Dr. Yuki Tanaka, a small woman with glasses who knew more about alien species than anyone else alive. She had spent 20 years studying how the elder races thought and acted. Within an hour, they gathered in Elena's office. The room was simple, with a metal desk and 3 chairs. A window showed the stars. Outside, Elena told them about the summon. General Chen read the charges out loud. His voice was steady, but Elena could see his jaw tighten with each word. Unauthorized expansion into 7 restricted sectors. Contamination of 3 pre-space faring civilizations, and the worst one, weaponizing faster than light technology for military purposes. Dr. Tanaka took off her glasses and cleaned them slowly. They have been looking for a reason to punish us for 30 years, since the day we made first contact. Now they have found one. Elena nodded. She remembered the day humanity had met the Galactic Council. She was just a young assistant back then, standing in the back of the room while older diplomats tried to negotiate. The elder species had looked at humans the way a person might look at insects crawling on the ground. They were not impressed. They were not worried. They simply did not care. Conquered of 12 had ruled the galaxy for 60,000 years. They had seen hundreds of young species rise and fall. To them, humanity was nothing special, just another primitive race that would either follow the rules or be crushed. What is the punishment? General Chen asked. Dr. Tanaka pulled up a holographic display. The words floated in the air between them, glowing with soft blue light. If we are found guilty, they will execute extinction-level sanctions. Our colonies will be sterilized. Every man, woman, and child on those worlds will die. Earth will be surrounded by an energy barrier that nothing can pass through. We will be trapped on our home planet. For 10,000 years, the room fell silent. Elena felt cold spreading through her body. 10,000 years, that was longer than all of human civilization combined. Their children would grow old and die. never seeing the stars, their grandchildren would forget that humanity ever traveled beyond their own sky. We cannot let this happen, General Chen said. His voice was quiet but hard as steel. Elena stood up and walked to the window. She watched a cargo ship drift past the station carrying supplies to one of the colony worlds. The people on that ship had families, they had dreams. They did not deserve to die because the Galactic Council decided humanity was too troublesome to exist. We need to go to Axiom Prime. Elena said we need to defend ourselves. Dr. Tanaka shook her head. The council has already made their decision. This trial is just a formality. They want to humiliate us. Before they destroy us, they want the galaxy to see humans beg for mercy. Then we will surprise them, Elena replied. She turned back to face her colleagues. We will not beg, we will not cry. We will stand tall and look them in the eyes. General Chen leaned forward in his chair. Ambassador, I respect your courage, but courage alone will not stop them from burning our colonies. We need something more. Elena smiled. It was a small smile, but there was something dangerous in it. General, do you remember Protocol Prometheus? The color drained from Chen's face. Protocol Prometheus was humanity's darkest secret. It was the plan that nobody talked about, the contingency that existed only in whispered conversations between the highest leaders. Elena had learned about it 5 years ago when she became the senior ambassador. She had hoped she would never need to use it. You cannot be serious, Chen whispered. I'm very serious, Elena said. Contact Fleet Admiral Okonkwo. Tell him to begin preparations. We have 72 hours. Dr. Tanaka looked confused. What is Protocol Prometheus? I have never heard of it. Elena sat back down at her desk. Her hands were no longer shaking. A strange calm had settled over her, the kind of calm that comes when a person accepts that they are about to fight for everything they love. Protocol Prometheus is our answer to extinction, Elena explained. For 30 years the Council has watched a struggle on the edges of their territory. They have counted our ships. They have mapped our colonies. They think they know everything about us. She paused and looked at the stars through the window. They are wrong. They have no idea what humanity has been building in the shadows. They have no idea what we are capable of when our survival is at stake. General Chen stood up straight. The fear in his eyes had been replaced by something else. Hope perhaps, or determination. I will contact the Admiral immediately. As he left the room, Dr. Tanaka remained seated. She studied Elena with curious eyes. You have been planning for this moment, haven't an LT Unk and GT? You, all these years of smiling and bowing to the council, it was all an act. Elena did not answer directly. Instead, she began preparing for the journey to Axiom Prime. There was much to do and very little time. The next morning, their ship departed from Threshold Station. It was a small diplomatic vessel painted white to show peaceful intentions as it jumped into faster than light travel. Elena looked back at the shrinking station. Somewhere behind her, across the vast distances of space, Fleet Admiral James Okonkwo was reading her message. Somewhere in the darkness between stars, humanity's true power was waking up. The Galactic Council wanted to put humanity on trial. They expected tears and apologies. They expected humans to accept their fate like every other young species before. They had made a terrible mistake. Elena closed her eyes and let the hum of the ship's engines fill her mind. In 72 hours she would stand before the most powerful beings in the galaxy. She would look into their ancient eyes and show them something they had never seen before. She would show them what happened when humanity refused to die. The Hall of Celestial Judgment was the largest building Elena had ever seen. It rose from the surface of Axiom Prime, like a mountain made of glass and light. Its walls were transparent, showing the purple sky outside. Its ceiling disappeared into clouds far above. Whole structure seemed to glow with an inner fire that had burned for thousands of years. Elena walked through the entrance with General Chen and Dr. Tanaka beside her. Their footsteps made no sound on the smooth floor. The air smelled clean and cold, like standing on top of a very tall mountain. Everything about this place was designed to make visitors feel small and weak. It was working. Elena felt like an ant walking into the home of giants. The main chamber opened before them. 12 enormous thrones sat in a half circle, each one carved from a different material. Some were made of black stone, others were made of crystal that shifted colors in the light. One throne appeared to be made of pure energy, floating above the ground without any support. In each throne sat a representative of the elder species, the rulers of the galaxy, the beings who had controlled the stars since before humans learned to make fire. Elena recognized them from her years of study. The Valkyrie occupied the central throne. They were insect-like creatures with hard shells and many eyes. Their minds worked like living computers, processing information faster than any machine. They served as the judges of the council, always seeking logic and order. To their left sat the Sinandrath, ancient reptiles with scales that changed color with their emotions. They had once been conquerors who crushed entire civilizations beneath their armies. Now they used laws instead of weapons, but they were no less dangerous. They served as the prosecutors of the council. Elena saw the Athatharans, beings made of pure light who rarely spoke but saw everything. She saw the Morathi, tall and thin creatures with 6 arms who built the greatest ships in the galaxy. She saw others whose names she could barely pronounce, species that had existed for millions of years. And there, in the center of the chamber, was a small circle marked on the floor, the petitioner's circle, the place where accused species stood to receive judgment. Elena walked to the circle and stood straight. Chen and Tanaka took positions behind her. She could feel the weight of 12 ancient gazes pressing down on her like a physical force. Valkyrie High Arbiter spoke first. Its name was Zekethel, and its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. Species designation: human home world. 3rd planet of the Sol system. You have been summoned to answer charges of severe violations against the conquered of 12. Elena bowed her head slightly. We acknowledge the summons and present ourselves for judgment. A Sinandrath moved forward. Its scales had turned dark red color, the color of anger and hunger. I am Prosecutor Vex Wrath. I will present the evidence of human crimes against galactic law. The prosecutor waved one clawed hand. Holographic images appeared in the air. Around the chamber, Elena saw maps of space with human colonies marked in blue. She saw recordings of human ships entering forbidden sectors. She saw images of primitive alien civilizations that humans had accidentally contacted. Unauthorized expansion into 7 restricted sectors. Vex Wrath hissed. The humans spread like a disease, ignoring our warnings and our laws. They settle on worlds that belong to future species. They steal resources that are not theirs. To take more images appeared. Alina recognized them as weapons tests. Human scientists working on new types of engines and cannons. Contamination of 3 pre-space-faring civilizations. The prosecutor continued. Human explorers have made contact with primitive species, forever changing their natural development. This alone would be enough to justify punishment. Vexwrath turned to face Alina directly. Its yellow eyes burned with cold hatred. But the greatest crime is this: humanity has taken peaceful faster than light technology and twisted it into weapons of war. You have created things that should not exist. You have proven that your species cannot be trusted with the gifts of advanced civilization. The prosecutor stepped back. The council has reviewed the evidence. The council has voted. There is no need for debate. The humans are guilty. Alina felt her heart beating faster, but she kept her face calm. Beside her, General Chen's hands had curled into fists. Dr. Tanaka was breathing quickly, her fear barely controlled. High Arbiter Exthal raised one of its many arms. The decree of the council is as follows: all human colonies beyond Earth will be sterilized. The human fleet will be destroyed. Earth will be enclosed in a containment barrier for a period of 10,000 standard years. During this time, humans will have no contact with the greater galaxy. The words echoed through the massive hall. Alina heard gasps from observers sitting in galleries high above. Representatives from younger species watched with fear in their eyes. They were seeing their own possible future. Does the human delegation wish to respond? Ziegfeld asked. Its compound eyes showed no emotion. To the Valkyrie, this was simply a matter of mathematics. Humans were a problem. The solution was removal. This was the moment Alina had prepared for. This was the moment when humans were supposed to fall to their knees and beg for mercy. Every young species before them had done exactly that. Some had cried. Some had offered to give up everything they had built. Some had simply accepted their fate in silence. Alina did none of these things. She smiled. The expression spread across her face slowly, like the sun rising over a battlefield. It was not a happy smile. It was not a nervous smile. It was the smile of someone who held a secret that would change everything. The council has made its judgment, Alina said. Her voice was clear and strong, filling every corner of the great hall. But the council has made an error. Vex Wrath's scales flickered with confusion. There is no error. The evidence is complete. The evidence is incomplete. Alina replied. The council operates under the assumption that this decree can be enforced. That assumption is wrong. This decree cannot be enforced because the council does not have the power to enforce it. Silence fell over the chamber. Complete absolute silence. Even the Athathurans, who usually floated without movement, seemed to freeze in place. High Arbiter Zeal leaned forward on its throne. Explain your meaning, human. Alina turned to General Chen and nodded. The general stepped forward, pulling a small device from his pocket. He pressed a button, and suddenly every holographic display in the chamber changed. The prosecutor's evidence disappeared. New images took Its place, for 30 years, Alina said. The Galactic Council has watched humanity and seen exactly what we wanted them to see, a struggling species on the edge of survival, a small fleet of outdated ships, 17 colonies barely holding together. She paused and looked up at the 12 thrones. Everything you know about humanity is a lie. The images began to tell a different story, a story the Council had never imagined, a story that would make the galaxy tremble. Alina stood in the center of the great hall, surrounded by the most powerful beings in existence, and prepared to show them the truth about the human race. Truth was terrifying, the holographic images floating in the hall of celestial judgment began to change. What the Council had believed about humanity melted away like ice under a hot sun. What replaced it made every elder species in the chamber feel something they had not felt in thousands of years. Fear. General Chen controlled the display with small movements of his fingers. First, he showed a map of human territory as the Council knew it, 17 colonies scattered across the outer edges of the galaxy, small dots of blue light in an ocean of darkness. Then the true map appeared. New dots of light bloomed across the hologram, 10, 20, 50. They kept appearing, spreading outward, like stars being born. When the display finally stopped, 147 human colonies glowed in the darkness. You counted 17, Alina said, her voice filling the silent chamber. There are 147, Prosecutor Vex wraths. Scales turned pale gray, the color of shock. Impossible. Our sensors would have detected this. Our scouts would have found these worlds. Dr. Tanaka stepped forward. She adjusted her glasses and spoke in a calm, academic voice. Your sensors are calibrated to detect known types of settlements, known types of energy signatures. We built our hidden colonies using technology your scanners were not designed to find. We carved cities inside asteroids. We constructed stations in the hearts of gas giants. We built homes in places you never thought to look. The Valkyrie high orbiter's antenna trembled, its compound eyes moved rapidly, trying to process this new information. Even if this is true, your fleet of 400 ships cannot threaten the combined forces of the Council. General Chen smiled. It was a cold smile, the smile of a soldier, revealing his true strength. We do not have 400 ships, he said. The hologram changed again. Shipyards appeared, hidden in the most unlikely places. Some floated in the Oort cloud at the edge of the Sol system, surrounded by frozen comets and debris. Others operated deep inside brown dwarf stars, using the dim heat for power. Still more were built in the empty void between galaxies, where nothing existed but darkness and silence. From these shipyards emerged ships, thousands of ships, warships with weapons that glowed with strain, energies, carriers that could deploy, hundreds of smaller fighters, destroyers, built for speed and violence, dreadnoughts the size of small moons. We have 11,000 warships, General Chen announced, each one equipped with weapons and defenses beyond anything your scouts have reported. The Hall of Celestial Judgment erupted into chaos. Representatives shouted at each other. The Sindrath prosecutor screamed demands that the humans be arrested immediately. The Marthe shipbuilders stared at the holographic ships with a mixture of horror and professional respect. Only the Athetherans remained calm. They floated above their throne, their bodies of pure light pulsing slowly. Elena noticed them, watching her with something that might have been curiosity. High Arbiter Exthal struck its throne with a staff made of crystal. The sound rang through the chamber like thunder, and silence returned. Even 11,000 ships cannot match the combined fleets of the conquered, the Arbiter said. But Elena noticed something in its voice, a tiny crack in its certainty. We have ruled the galaxy for 60,000 years. We have crushed rebellions from species far more advanced than humans. Dr. Tanaka spoke. Again, you crushed them because they played by your rules. They tried to match your technology piece by piece. They built ships like your ships, weapons like your weapons. They fought wars the way you taught them to fight. She pushed her glasses up on her nose. We did not do that. We looked at the universe differently. We asked questions you never thought to ask, and we found answers you believed were impossible. Elena nodded to the general. The final piece of the revelation was about to be shown. This was the moment that would change everything. The hologram shifted. One last time, a schematic appeared, showing a device unlike anything the Council had ever seen. It looked almost simple, a sphere of metal with complex patterns etched into its surface. But the readings next to it told a different story. 30 years ago, Elena said, your scientists told us that dark energy could not be controlled. They said it was the force that pushed the universe apart, that it existed everywhere but could never be harnessed. They laughed at our researchers who suggested otherwise. She pointed at the schematic. They are no longer laughing. We cracked dark energy manipulation. We built devices that can tap into the fundamental force of cosmic expansion. Do you understand what that means? The chamber was completely silent. Even the Sinindrath prosecutor had stopped moving. Its scales had turned white. The color of absolute terror. High Arbiter Exthal understood. It means you can tear apart anything, ships, planets, stars. Yes, Elena said simply. We do not want to use these weapons. We built them, hoping we would never need them. But you have left us no choice. She turned, slowly looking at each throne in turn. She met the eyes of beings who had ruled the galaxy since before her species existed. She showed no fear. Your decree echoes in an empty room, she said. Humanity does not accept extinction. We never have. When our ancestors faced ice ages that killed most life on Earth, they survived. When plagues swept across our world, we survived. When we exhausted the resources of our planet, we reached for the stars. And now when the most powerful civilization in the galaxy decides to erase us from existence, we will survive again. Athethurian finally spoke. Its voice was like music, beautiful and haunting. You have done what we believed impossible. In 30 years you have matched what took us millions of years to achieve. You have grown from primitives to equals in a single generation. Not equals, Elena corrected. Not yet. We do not want equality through war. We do not want to burn your worlds or destroy your fleets. That is not why we built our weapons. Prosecutor Vex Wrath found its voice again. Then why? Why build such power if not to use it? Elena smiled again, but this time it was a gentler expression. We built our power so that we could say no, no to your decree, no to extinction, no to being treated like insects beneath your feet. She spread her arms wide, addressing the entire chamber. Humanity is offering the Galactic Council, something it has never received before. We are offering you a choice. You can try to enforce your decree and watch billions die on both sides. You can start a war that will tear the galaxy apart and leave nothing but ashes and graves. She paused, letting her words sink into the minds of the ancient beings before her. Or you can accept that the old ways are over. You can recognize humanity as equals and give us a seat at your table, not as subjects begging for mercy, as partners, building a future together. High Arbiter Exthal stared at her for a long moment. You are asking us to change everything we have believed for 60,000 years. Yes. Elena said, I am asking you to evolve. Your civilizations grew powerful by crushing those beneath you, but we are not beneath you anymore. We stand beside you now. The only question is whether you will accept that truth or burn. Trying to deny it, the council began to argue among themselves. Some screamed for war, others spoke quietly of negotiation. The Athatharans simply watched, their glowing bodies revealing nothing. Elena returned to her place in the petitioner's circle and waited. Fate of two civilizations hung in the balance, and somewhere in the darkness of space, 11,000 human ships were waiting for the answer. 10,000 light-years away from Axiom Prime, Fleet Admiral James Okonkwo stood on the bridge of the human flagship Prometheus. He was a tall man with dark skin and white hair. His eyes were the color of steel, and they showed no emotion as he watched the tactical display in front of him. 11,000 human warships had moved into position around 47 Council core worlds. They had traveled through hidden pathways in space, emerging from darkness like ghosts appearing from shadows. The elder species had not seen them coming. By the time their sensors detected the human fleet, it was already too late. Admiral Okonkwo opened a communication channel that would reach every council vessel, every station, every inhabited planet. The Galaxy Council vessels, this is Earth Defense Command, he said. His voice was calm and steady, the voice of a man who had prepared for this moment his entire life. Our fleet has achieved strategic positioning around 47 of your core worlds, including Axiom Prime. We have no desire for war, but we will not submit to genocide. The response came quickly. Thousands of Council warships began powering up their weapons. Defense platforms activated across every threatened world. The Sinindrath fleet, the largest in the galaxy, started moving toward the nearest human positions on the bridge of the Prometheus. Admiral Okonkwo watched the movements on his tactical display. He had expected this reaction. The Council had always solved problems with overwhelming force. They did not know any other way. Hold positions, he ordered his fleet. Do not fire unless fired upon. Let them make the first move. Back on Axiom Prime, the Hall of Celestial Judgment had become a battlefield of words. The 12 elder species argued with each other while the human delegation waited in silence. The Sindrath representative slammed its clawed fist against its throne. We must attack now. Destroy them before they destroy us. This is what we have always done. The Morathi shipbuilder shook its 6 arms in disagreement. You saw the schematics of their weapons. You saw what dark energy manipulation can do. If we attack, we might win, but at what cost? How many of our worlds will burn before the war ends? Better to burn than To submit, the Sindrath screamed, "We are the rulers of this galaxy, we do not negotiate with primitives," the Valkyrie High Arbiter raised its staff for silent. Let us consider the mathematics of this situation. Our combined fleet numbers approximately 30,000 vessels. The humans have 11,000, but their weapons technology appears to be superior. If we engage in full warfare, our projections suggest casualties of 60 to 70% on both sides. The numbers hung in the air like a death sentence. 60 to 70%, billions of lives, thousands of ships, centuries of progress gone in the fire of war. Elena stepped forward. "High Arbiter, may I speak?" Zixth nodded its insectoid head. "You may. I have studied the history of the Galactic Council," Elena said. "For 60,000 years you have maintained peace through strength. Younger species either submitted to your rule or were destroyed. This system worked because no younger species ever had the power to resist." She walked slowly around the petitioner's circle, making eye contact with each throne. "But that system has now failed. We have the power to resist. The question is no longer whether you can destroy us. The question is what kind of galaxy you want to live in." The Athathuran spoke again, its musical voice cutting through the tension. "The human speaks truth. The mathematics of domination no longer calculate in our favor. We must consider alternatives." The Sindrath representative hissed with fury. "The other weak, always looking for peaceful solutions. This is not weakness we face. This is an enemy that must be crushed." "Try to crush us," General Chen said. "Quietly send your fleets, start your war, and when the last shots are fired and the last cities burn, count what remains. See if the cost was worth the pride." Hours passed. The arguments continued. Messages flew back and forth between Axiom Prime and the councils. Military commanders. Threats were made. Warnings were issued. Neither side backed down. In the space around the core worlds, human and council ships floated in silent standoff. Weapons remained armed but unfired. Crews watched their screens, waiting for the order that would begin the destruction. Admiral Okonkwo received a message from Ambassador Vasquez. It contained 3 words: "Hold the line." He looked out the window of his bridge at the council world below. It was a beautiful planet, covered in silver cities and green forests. Millions of beings lived there, going about their daily lives, unaware that death hung above them in the form of human warships. The Admiral had 3 children on Earth. He had grandchildren he had never met because he had spent so long preparing for this moment. He did not want to kill the beings on that planet below. He did not want to be the monster the council believed humans to be, but he would do what needed to be done. If the council chose war, he would fight that war with everything humanity had built. He would burn worlds and shatter fleets and leave nothing but graves behind, because the alternative was watching his own children, his own grandchildren, his own species die in the fire of extinction. He hoped the council would choose differently. On Axiom Prime, the debates finally grew quiet. The elder species had exhausted their arguments. They had examined every possibility, calculated every outcome, considered every scenario. High Arbiter Exthal rose from its throne. "The council will vote. Each species will announce its decision one by one." The votes came in. The Sindrath voted for war. The Morathi voted for negotiation. The Valkyrie calculated the odds and voted. For negotiation, the Athathurans voted. For peace, the Count moved back and forth, 4 for war, 5 for negotiation, then 6, then 7, when the final vote was announced. The result was clear. 8 species had voted to negotiate, 4 had voted for war. The majority had chosen to try something new. The Sindrath representative howled. With rage, cowards, all of you, you regret this decision. The humans will never stop growing, never stop spreading. They will consume this galaxy and leave nothing for the rest of us. Alina looked at the screaming reptile with steady eyes. We do not want to consume anything. We only want to live. We want to explore the stars and build new worlds and raise our children. Peace, is that so different from what you want? Number 5, the Sinindrith fell silent, though its scales still burned with anger. High Arbiter Exthal struck its staff against the floor. The Council has voted. The decree of extinction is withdrawn. Negotiations will begin for a new arrangement between the conquered of 12 and the human species. Alina felt tears forming in her eyes, but she did not let them fall, not yet. There was still work to be done. 10,000 light years away, Admiral Okonkwo received the message. He closed his eyes and let out a breath he felt he had been holding for 30 years. All ships, he ordered, stand down, weapons, maintain positions, but enter peaceful formation. The war is over before it began. On the bridge of the Prometheus, someone started to cry, then someone started to laugh, then everyone was doing both at the same time, the sounds mixing together in a strange music of relief and joy. They had done it. They had faced down the rulers of the galaxy and lived. Now came the harder part, building a peace that would last. 6 months had passed since the day humanity faced down the Galactic Council. 6 months of negotiations, arguments, compromises, and slow, painful progress. 6 months that changed the shape of the galaxy forever. Alina Vasquez stood at the entrance to the Hall of Celestial Judgment once more, but this time everything was different. This time she was not a criminal waiting for punishment. This time she was about to take her place among the rulers of the stars. A 13th throne had been built in the great chamber. It was made of blue marble from Earth, carved with images of human history, mountains and oceans, cities and ships, the faces of billions of people who would never know how close they had come to extinction. Alina walked through the hall with her head held high. General Chen walked beside her, wearing the uniform of the newly formed Galactic Peacekeeping Force. Dr. Tanaka followed behind, carrying documents that contained the new treaties and agreements. The 12 elder species watched from their ancient thrones. Some looked at Alina with respect, some looked at her with fear. Few still looked at her with hatred, their anger burning cold. After all these months, High Arbiter Exthal rose from its throne. Today we witness something that has never happened in the history of the Galactic Council. Younger species has earned a seat among the elder races, not through submission, not through conquest, but through strength and wisdom combined. The Arbiter turned to face Alina directly. Ambassador Alina Vasquez of Earth, do you accept the responsibilities of Council membership? Do you swear to uphold the peace of the galaxy and work for the benefit of all species? Alina climbed the steps to her throne. She stood before it, looking out at the Assembled representatives, she thought. About the journey that had brought her. Here, the fear, the hope, the desperate gamble that could have ended in the death of everything she loved. I accept, she said on behalf of humanity. I accept the responsibilities and the duties of council membership. We will work beside you as partners and equals. We will defend the peace and seek justice for all. She sat down on the throne of blue marble. The stone was cool against her back. From this height, she could see the entire chamber spread. Out below her, she could see the faces of beings who had ruled the galaxy for 60,000 years, and they were looking at her. The ceremony continued with speeches and formal declarations. Treaties were signed, agreements were sealed. When it was finally over, the representatives began to leave the hall, returning to their own worlds and their own concerns. High Arbiter Ziegthal approached Alina's throne. The insectoid being moved slowly, its many legs clicking against the floor. Up close, Alina could see patterns in its shell that she had never noticed before. Ancient markings that told the story of its species. You have changed everything, the Arbiter said. For 60,000 years, we believed we understood the universe. We believed we knew the limits of what younger species could achieve. You proved us wrong. Alina nodded. We did not set out to prove anything. We only wanted to survive. Perhaps that is why you succeeded where others failed. Ziegthal replied. They wanted to impress us. They wanted our approval. You simply wanted to live, and you were willing to do whatever was necessary to achieve that goal. The Orbiter turned and looked out at the empty chamber. The galaxy will never be the same. Other species are watching. The Cathari have been confined to their single world for 8,000 years. Morvani have lived under restrictions since their expansion was crushed 6 centuries ago. They see what humanity has accomplished, and they are asking themselves the same question. What question? Alina asked. If the humans could do it, why not us? Alina understood then that her victory was not the end of change, it was the beginning. The old order of the galaxy, built on domination and fear, was starting to crack. Other species would demand their own seats at the table. They would push against the limits that had held them down for so long. Some of the elder species would resist these changes. There would be conflicts and struggles in the years ahead. But the important thing had happened. The impossible had been proven possible. In the weeks that followed, Alina settled into her new role. She met with representatives from younger species who wanted to know how humanity had done it. She sat in council meetings and voted on matters that affected billions of lives. She worked with Dr. Tanaka on scientific exchanges that would benefit both human and council civilization. General Chen took command of the joint peacekeeping force. His ships patrolled the borders between territories, preventing conflicts before they could start. For the first time in galactic history, human and council soldiers served side by side. Admiral Akin Kuo retired from active service. He returned to Earth and finally met his grandchildren. He told them stories about the stars and the strange beings who lived among them. He did not tell them about the weapons he had built or the worlds he had been prepared to destroy. Some stories were better left untold. 1 year after the Treaty of Axiom Prime, Alina received a visitor in her quarters on the Council's capital. It was the Atherian representative, a being of pure light who floated through the walls without using the door. I have been watching your species, the Athorian said. Its voice was like soft music playing in a distant room. You are different from others we have seen. Different how? Alina asked. Most species grow comfortable when they achieve safety. They stop pushing. They stop reaching for things beyond their grasp. But humans are not like that. Even now, with everything you have won, your scientists are working on new technologies, your explorers are mapping unknown regions of space, your artists are creating works that challenge what we thought was possible. The Athithuran drifted closer, its light casting strange shadows on the walls. We Athithurans have existed for longer than any other species in the Council. We have seen civilizations rise and fall like waves on an ocean, and we have never seen anything quite like humanity. You are restless in a way that is both terrifying and beautiful. Alina smiled. We cannot help it. It is simply who we are. We look at the horizon and wonder what lies beyond. We reach the top of one mountain and immediately start looking for a higher one to climb. Yes, the Athorian agreed. And that is why the old council members fear you, not because of your weapons or your fleets, but because you will never stop. You will never be satisfied with what you have. You will keep growing, keep changing, keep reaching for more. Is that a bad thing? Alina asked. The Athorian was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, its voice carried something that might have been hope. Perhaps not. Perhaps the galaxy has been sleeping for too long. Perhaps it needs a species like yours to wake it up and remind it what it means to dream. The being of light faded away, leaving Alina alone with her thoughts. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, human ships were exploring new worlds. Human scientists were unlocking the secrets of the universe. Human children were looking up at the sky and wondering what adventures waited for them among the distant lights. The Galactic Council had tried to stop humanity. They had issued their decree and expected the humans to accept their fate. They had forgotten something important about the species from Earth. Humans did not know how to give up. Humans did not know how to stop reaching for the impossible. When the universe told them no, they found a way to make it say yes. And now, sitting on a throne of blue marble in the most powerful assembly in the galaxy, Alina Vasquez looked toward the future. There would be challenges ahead. There would be enemies and obstacles and moments of doubt, but humanity would face them the same way it had faced everything else. With courage, with creativity, with the stubborn refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. The stars waited, burning with ancient light.